Hello, my name is Martin. Welcome to the making of the wooden play button as appreciation for the 200 subscribers of the WeaselWood channel. As foundation for this project I used a picture clip frame without an actual frame. I just needed the glass and the back panel. The clip frame I used had 24 by 30 centimeters. A nice size, as I think, and the first thing I made were the MDF stripes for the frame. As the 4 necessary stripes were cut, I lowered the splitter of my table saw to cut 2 grooves of about 5 mm depth in the stripes. One for the glass and one for the back panel. The grooves were done and I set the cross-cut fence to 45 degrees and cut the mitters for the corners of the frame. First I cut the first mitter on all 4 strips, and then I calculated the length of the horizontal and vertical strips and cut 2 of each length. The first test fit with the back panel. Looking good so far. Then I realized that at least the back panel should be removable after the assembly, so I extended the back groove to a fold. Better now than later. The work on the saw were done and I went over to the router table. I set it up with a 3 mm radius mill and rounded the edges of the strips. A little hit with the sander and a bit of hand sanding on the edges never hurts before assembly. Then I covered the glass pane in masking tape to protect it against the spray mist when I paint the frame. On the edges I gave it 2 layers of tape for a better fit inside the groove. After the pane was covered, I prepared the frame for assembly. I aligned the stripes and fixed them on the outside with masking tape to glue the mitters together. And don't forget the glass as you assemble the frame. Then I went ahead to the play button itself. I had this piece of maple wood plank laying around and I thought it would give a nice play button. So I started on the saw to cut the piece off and then to trim it. Now on to some planer action. First I planed one side till it was smooth. Then I changed the machine to thicknessing setup and brought the plank to the final thickness. For the shape of the play button, I prepared a template of the YouTube logo. I cut it out roughly and glued it to the plank. Then I clamped the plank to my bench using the low profile clamps. I set up my router with a 4mm end mill and set it to about 5mm depth to mill out the play arrow. After the milling was done, I smoothed the edges with a chisel. Now it's time for the sticky part. I mixed up the epoxy resin with the hardener and the black dye as specified by the manufacturer. And of course, stir it up. Woohoo, the great moment! Pour it in and shake out the bubbles. Don't make the same mistake as I did. Impregnate the wood with some clear varnish before you pour the resin in. You'll see why in a minute. Meanwhile, the frame had time to dry, so I went ahead and removed the masking tape on the corners and give it a last time a hit with the sandpaper. Of course, the frame needed some paint, so I whipped the spray can out and applied a bit of noir to the bare MDF. The next day the resin dried overnight and I started to remove the excess wood around the play button. First I roughly cut it with my semi-stationary jigsaw. Then I shaped the part with the belt sander. First I cleared the edges of the part, then I removed the paper template and rounded the surface to give it a nice three-dimensional look. you can see why I should have impregnated the wood before I put the resin in. The dye soaked into the wood and made the dark haze around the arrow. Anyway, next time I'll make it better. I wanted to give the part a floaty look, so I used the router table to remove a fold underneath the play button. Then I finally sanded the play button and varnished it with some wood oil. For the background I prepared a layout similar to the YouTube silver and gold play buttons and printed it out. I fitted it to the back panel and cut it to the same size. And of course some spray glue to hold it in place. I marked and drilled the holes to mount the play button to the back panel. Also I pre-drilled the holes in the play button itself. My shortest screws were too long to mount it, so I cut them to the appropriate length and mounted the play button. One last cleanup of the frame and some nails for the back panel and it's finally done. Isn't it beautiful? Another time, thank you for the views and the support. I see you on the next project. Have a nice day.